environmental laws in India started after the Stockholm Conference in 1972. You know that in 19th century there was industrial revolution in England and Europe, and there was tremendous industrialization started in the Western world, which spread to Japan, in Asia, partly to India, partly to China. But indiscriminate industrialization also led to tremendous amount of pollution, and the two world wars of 1940 to 18 and 1939 to 45 left unimaginable damage, especially the Nagasaki and Hiroshima atomic bombing. I don't think human beings could ever imagine the amount of damage that could have done for generations to come. Therefore, the United Nations decided to hold a Stockholm Conference on the field of environment in 1972. And I would like to think, unless I'm proved wrong, the 1974 Water Act is a direct result of the Stockholm Conference, when the nations together decided that we will promulgate the necessary laws, and we got the 1974 Environmental Water Act. Then in India, most important act which is prevalent is the Water Act and the Environment Protection Act, which came subsequently. I will just take you through the list of acts which are relevant directly or indirectly. The River Boards Act of 1956, the Merchant Shipping Act of 1970, these all have direct or indirect relevance for environment and pollution control. The most important which we deal in industry is the Water Prevention and Pollution Control Act 1974. Of course, the Water Cess Act is more applicable to pollution control boards for their revenue, though we pay for it. Then the Environment Protection Act of 1986, then the Indian Boilers Act, etc., which are also there. They all envisage. The Factories Act also envisages that we shall maintain a clean Industrial Development Act, all of them. The Air Prevention Act is another one. So similarly, there are 26 acts like that which are directly or indirectly, not to mention the Indian Penal Code or the Criminal Procedure Code or some other acts. So it's probably impossible for any entrepreneur who is mostly either an entrepreneur in the form of an engineer or a pure entrepreneur in the form of a commerce graduate to come forward and understand all these acts. But it's incumbent upon us to understand the laws. It is, as I was telling you in the beginning, it's a quasi criminal act. It's like, traffic policeman controlling the traffic. What happens is, over the period of last 35 years, having my own enterprise in chemical industry and having managed JETL, the pollution control authorities are not going to listen. Say that if I say that my colleague is or my neighbor is polluting, they will say, fine, he is polluting, we know that, he's escaped today, but we've caught you, so you better answer us. The other man may escape for whatever reason for some time, but he cannot escape forever. It will be a matter of time before he is also caught. It's like you complaining that motorcyclist has already crossed the signal and gone away. You are catching me, you left that fellow. The policeman is going to say, yes, he has gone away today, but tomorrow we are going to catch him. But today we have caught you, therefore you pay the penalty. So it's exactly the same law. Pollution control laws are similar, that when you are caught, you are a culprit. As I cannot deal with all the laws, and I don't intend to deal with all the laws, I'm sure the speakers at today's sessions will dwell into them more detail. I just thought I'll spend a little bit of time on 2 or 3 sections of the Water Act, which the industry has a role to play, the Pollution Control Board has a role to play, and we must know how this to be done. Section 21 to 24 are very relevant of the Water Act. When a Pollution Control Board official, an authorized official comes, he should be an authorized official. I have found in my experience that most of the time they are not even authorized. They will send a boy or a NMR who is not authorized, who is not having any experience to collect samples. The law envisages that he should be an authorized official, though it does not say what should be his qualification. The person should know that he has to give a requisition in Form 12. Then he should know that the sample should be divided into 2 parts. Then he should know that he should take the acknowledgement of the occupier or the authorized representative. Occupier normally under the Factories Act is the person or director who is the occupier designated. Otherwise, he has to authorize the general manager or the production manager or somebody. There has to be, all these have to be returned. The law envisages this. There are cases in Supreme Court, there are cases in several high courts where the courts have held that wrong sampling is no excuse and therefore we cannot penalize an industry. And today, it has become a fashion for the pollution control boards across the country to impose bank guarantees, impose penalties, which are not authorized. The Supreme Court has said in so many cases that, unless the case is completed, the court, or in some cases the regulatory authorities are the person they cannot. Yes, the Pollution Control Board has under section 31 or 32, they have a power to disconnect your energy, electricity, utilities, but they cannot give you a closure order. Suo moto. Even closure order of your activities can be done provided you are violating completely and repeatedly, but they cannot impose financial penalty. But they're doing it, and they're getting away with it because pollution has become a very bad word. We have called this punishment on ourselves as industries. We have been very irresponsible. We have not been as responsible as we should have been. Therefore, the pollution control boards are helpless. Therefore, they go to this extreme step of closures, penalties, and all kinds of punishments. So, similarly, the testing of the sample also can be done by two laboratories. One, the Pollution Control Board laboratory itself under section 31 or 32, and designated laboratories under section 51 or 52 of the Water Act. Section 51 envisages the central government shall designate a laboratory. It could be a third laboratory, it could be NIDI, it could be Vimta or any private laboratory, but it has to be designated. What happens in many cases is the Pollution Control Board takes a suo moto action based on the analysis of their own laboratory, which is not correct. And whenever there is a discrepancy, and you as an entrepreneur, as an industry, have a right to ask the Pollution Control Board authorities to send a sample to a designated laboratory. And wherever there is a discrepancy between the designated laboratory and the Pollution Control Board laboratory, the analysis of designated laboratory shall prevail. The Act is very clear about it. So therefore, these are some things which we as industrialists, which we as entrepreneurs have to understand. Therefore, I would urge that, FAPSI, we at JEM, we will do it, but we should have more and more interactions like this. Now the next one, the most important one which we have been facing in Andhra Pradesh and now it's happening all over India, section 25 is a very relevant section. When any entrepreneur, any industrialist want to set up an industry, he has to approach the local pollution control board or the central pollution control board, as the case may be, for obtaining consent to establish an industry. Of course, now there is a new section under environment clearance is required from Government of India. After that, still consent for establishment is required. What does the consent for establishment section say? That when you are about to release pollutants into the atmosphere, so the prerequisite is that your activity should be generating pollutants, and secondly, it has to release into atmosphere. The pollution control board authorities have a right to reject, approve your activity, or approve your activity with the condition that what shall be the pollutants you can let.